Keeping Up with Jones, the Lonnie Jones podcast adventure. I am your host, Lonnie Jones. My wife Jackie and I moved to the city of Huntsville in 1986 for me to be a youth and family minister. I have been a minister since 1980. I have served in this community as a police chaplain assigned to a SWAT team since 1992, and I've been in private practice as a licensed professional counselor since 1998. I'm also an adventure educator and an avid outdoorsman. I dabble in rock climbing and I goof around with Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. Our life has been full of many wonderful experiences and some just outright adventures. I used to write about those things in a little church bulletin article. So now instead of asking you to read those things, we're just going to talk about them in our podcast. And as we talk about them, we're going to talk about the facts. The facts lead to concepts, and the concepts lead to application. One caveat about the facts is, for the most part, we're going to tell you the facts just as they happened. But every now and then, we're going to tell you the way other people have told us they remember it happening with a little bit of embellishment. It's all good, clean fun and for educational purposes. Thank you for listening, and we hope you enjoy Keeping Up with Jones. When I was a little boy, I attended the Faulkner University lectureships. Our preacher, Charles Box, took me and my brother down there. I sat in the balcony of the rotunda. I hung my feet over the edge and propped my chin on the middle rail of the guardrail. This year, there will be the 80th annual Faulkner University lectureships, and they'll be addressing different aspects of what the New Testament teaches on grace. There will be 91 speakers from 10 different states, and there are also some special seminars. There'll be a campus ministry workshop, a digital ministry workshop, a homeschooling seminar. They will address some various aspects of sexual ethics. There'll also be a special athletics seminar called Pursuing the Imperishable, the Athlete's Focus in Christ, and this will feature two-time NBA champion Norris Cole. If you'd like more information or you'd like to register to attend this event, that is faulkner.edu/lectureship, faulkner.edu/lectureship. Faulkner University is a sponsor of Keeping Up with Jones, the Lonnie Jones podcast adventure. It is the gift that keeps on giving. It probably started well before January 15th, 2009, but on January 15th, 2009, that's when it caught my attention. And trust me, when you have an 18-inch section of your intestine rupture, it will get your attention. Well, the last 7 weeks, hopefully the last 7 weeks, I'm taking the next last step in completing a journey that started almost 15 years ago. You see, the first time I had surgery involving this particular problem, I got to wear this bag. I got to wear this colostomy bag. It's a plastic bag attached to your intestines and hanging out your ribs. And I got to wear the wonderful thing for 21 weeks. And when I got rid of it, when they reversed it, when they removed it, I got to be unconscious because it was another surgery. Well, somewhere around surgery number 4 or 5, this was more of a cosmetic surgery. They removed the scar, probably a 10 to 15 inch vertical. Well, not vertical. Bob Danoon says it looks like the map of the road going up Pikes Peak. It looked like I'd lost a knife fight with Michael J. Fox. Anyway, they're going to remove this scar. And after they remove the scar, it fixes the outward appearance of my abdomen. And they're going to put a mesh over the entire abdominal area. And this mesh was designed to cover a multiple number of hernias that made my belly look like Swiss cheese beneath the surface. And of course, one never just has surgery. You see, there's surgery and then there's post-op. On this particular occasion, the post-op was what I call wearing blood grenades. Now, blood grenades are more accurately called Jackson Pratt drains. These two drains are placed in the surgical area They're under the skin, and they run out of your skin, out of a hole about the size of a pencil, and they're attached to these two little bubbles. Two little plastic bubbles, and at the end of that bubble looks like a bulb, and it looks like an old style toy version of a World War II fragmentation grenade. They're not green plastic, but they're clear plastic. You open a little valve, you squeeze them shut, you close the little valve, and then it begins to swell. And as it swells, it basically has this back pressure that is a suction and drains out excess fluid out of the surgery area, and that fluid collects in the blood grenade, and you have to take it out every day and empty it. It reduces swelling, it reduces infection, and theoretically, it reduces your recovery time. And so, hats off to Misters Jackson and Pratt on the invention of their device. However, somebody should have given a little thought to how these things are going to be removed prior to running off to the patent office and having them installed helter-skelter all over the world. I'm not a medical genius, but I've been around the block a couple of times. And when they sent me home wearing these little things, I realized, hey, you know what? They poked a hole in you and poked those things in there. They're going to pull those things out the old-fashioned way. You're not going to be unconscious and you're not going to have surgery. They're just going to pull them out. Little did I know that the technique for pulling them out was similar to starting a Briggs & Stratton pull cord engine. And I did not mention that on the end of these tubes that are wrapped inside your skin is a filter. It looks like a little felt filter, and it's about the size and shape of a roadkill chipmunk. So picture yourself lying on the ground or lying on a gurney, and somebody pulling a hose pipe out of your skin with a hamster attached to it. As unpleasant as this experience of having them removed was, I was happy to see the blood grenades go. You see, I was wearing those things for about 8 days, and to me, it felt like I was wearing the bag again. I got in and out of bed like I was wearing the bag. I got in and out of bed, walked around like I had this apparatus attached to me. I had to wear my clothes differently. It affected my mood. I had to cover them up with a band. I had to keep them drained. I had to sleep on my back. I had to strip the tubes. I had to record the fluid output. Now, what I've gone through could not be described as suffering in any sense. I mean, none of the stuff that's happened to me can be compared to chemotherapy, can be compared to bone marrow transfusions or transplants. Nothing can be compared to somebody who's having to have dialysis. But I'm going to call it suffering because that's the only word I can use. But in all the suffering of have those things coming out of me, I was glad to see them go because they restricted me. Well, now, 8 or 10 surgeries later, 15 years later, I'm doing post-op again. It's the second surgery in 2 years on the same problem, and I'm 7 weeks out waiting on doc to give me permission and the green light to live without restrictions. Now, at this point, I don't have any apparatuses attached to me. The only thing I have is restrictions. And so far, when I ask him about my restrictions, his answer has been no. No to everything. No running, no climbing, no grappling, no push-ups, no swimming. He won't even let me shoot my bow. But at some point, he's going to say yes. And he's going to lift the restrictions. Now, it could be a limited yes. But even a limited yes will be better than this. And then when I get that limited yes, I will start the final phase of having the last surgery. And the final phase is getting back in shape again. And it's an arduous process. You crawl, and then you walk, and then you run. You start doing pull-ups from a seated position, and then you do pull-ups with bands, and you do pull-ups on a machine, and then maybe one day you do real pull-ups. The thought of walking and running and climbing and wrestling without a bag, without bulbs, without a brace, without a belt, without the hernias, without restrictions, man, that's what I'm looking forward to. I so look forward to being able to move and live without restrictions. I look forward to this new freedom that I hope to enjoy. And just think about it. If you ever had braces on your legs, a brace on your arm, think about when the braces came off your teeth. Think about if you ever had a cast on your arm, how liberating it was. Now think about being able to move, being allowed to move through life without restrictions. And I'm not talking about braces or bands or bulbs. I'm talking about being able to live life without the restrictions of wounds. And not that you don't have wounds, but the wounds have been healed. And no fears and no guilt and no insecurities. Having mended your regrettable things that you've done or having overcome the regrettable things that you've endured. The thought of living without restrictions. Living without restrictions basically means becoming comfortable with yourself. Becoming comfortable with yourself that you can move without the restrictions, without the thought of, am I tall enough, fast enough, thin enough, smart enough, pretty enough, spiritual enough, successful enough, wealthy enough, good enough? The fear of, am I enough? Well, just take those off. Take them off, throw them away. You see, being accepting of others and being self-accepting, there's a lot of unrestricted freedom in that. In the last couple of months, I've been speaking at churches, and I've been doing a study on what I call proportional reciprocity. And it's basically the idea that the way we look at, the way we measure, and that the way we forgive other people is a metric that God uses to look at, judge, and forgive us. But in addition to the idea of the proportional reciprocity, that how I treat you, how I forgive you, how I judge you is the measure that God uses to treat, forgive, and judge me, I've discovered that really very often the way we see ourselves can affect the way we see others. At least me, I tend to look at others based on my fear filter, my insecurity filter, and my judgment filter. And the thing that I use on me is what I use on others. But learning to be comfortable with who you are and who you are not, living with those restrictions, living in spite of those restrictions, learning to be self-tolerant, not self-deceived, but honest about who you are and honest about who you're not. That's the first step in becoming comfortable in accepting others who are not like us, those who don't like us, or those who do not act like we'd like them to act. You see, that's living without restrictions in a way that says I'm in control of not how people respond to me, but how I respond to their responses. If I accept myself, and then I'm more likely to be accepting of others. People who are so uncomfortable with other people are ultimately insecure, fearful, or rejecting of something about themselves. And you see, being comfortable with others, getting rid of those restrictions, really starts with being comfortable with me. You are not like me. You may not like me. But if I can become okay with me, then your reaction to me is ultimately okay. You see, I had these restrictions after my surgeries, and I had to have somebody, I had to wait for a surgeon to reverse the bag. I had to sit there and wait for them to pull the staples out or pull the blood grenades out. On other occasions, I was given permission. Take off the braces, take off the band, take off the bandages. And when I took them off, I didn't save them. I didn't hide them. I didn't hold on to them. I just simply took those and threw them away. I'm waiting on my surgeon. I'm waiting on Doc to lift the restrictions. Now, the reason I'm waiting on him in a medical sense is I respect his expertise and his medical opinion, and he's the guy that I asked to fix this problem. Now, honestly, I don't have to have his permission. I can start doing anything I want to start doing right now, but if I don't listen to him, I'm probably going to re-experience some damage, re-experience some harm, and might have to have yet another surgery. It will be nice to get his okay, but I really get to choose whether I lift it or live with the restrictions. I don't really have to have his permission to be normal, but his influence on what has been done and what he expects me to do, that may influence what the new normal will be. And not listening to Doc is probably not smart. But let's say you have this restriction. Let's say you have this thing that affects you. Let's say you have this thing going on and you're uncomfortable with it, or it restricts you. You can't do all the things you want to do, and you can't be the things you want to be. Well, you can have somebody fix it for you. You can talk to a doctor or a minister or a therapist or a close friend or a trusted mentor. Or you can live in such a way that as you progress, as you grow and you mature, you reach a place where you have permission to discard it and throw it away. Or you can give yourself permission to live free. And I'm not talking about not being free from it, but being able to live freely with it. You see, life's not about restrictions. It's about the restrictions we place on our restrictions. Are we going to let those restrictions ultimately control us? Or are we going to control our response to the restrictions? If Doc continues to say no, I can ignore that and give my permission to go and do. Now, in the strictly medical sense, that would probably not be smart. But under the proper circumstances, in the psychological or emotional sense, I think giving myself permission to live without certain restrictions is very, very powerful. Or giving myself to restrict the power the restrictions have on me is probably more powerful. See, learning to live a positive way to respond to the restrictions, the burdens, the limits, dealing with those restraints, not from I wish they didn't exist, but simply learning how to deal with them because they exist. One of my favorite examples of this is from a guy named Matt Evans, and I may have even used it before. But Matt says, suppose I gave you a 50-pound dumbbell and told you had to carry this the rest of your life. Well, immediately you think about walking around with a 50-pound dumbbell in either your right or your left hand, or depending how strong you are, you have to carry it with both hands. It changes some things you can do. It means there's some things you can't do. You've got this 50-pound weight, and it's probably going to affect everything you do. And then Matt simply says, well, suppose I gave you a 50-pound dumbbell and then gave you a backpack to carry it in. All of a sudden, this restriction, you've got this 50-pound weight. It's different. Now, the weight is not different. It's still 50 pounds. It's still a dumbbell. It's still made out of metal. But the fact that I've got something to help me carry it, when I drive, I wear it in the front. When I walk, I wear it in the back. When I sit at the table, it can be in my lap. My hands are free, but I haven't changed the fact that I've got 50 pounds, and I haven't changed the fact that it's made out of metal, and I haven't changed the fact that it's still a dumbbell. You see, the burden, the restriction may never be removed, but how I choose to manage that restriction makes all the difference in the world. Living without restrictions. Freedom is not freedom from, but creating freedom with. Living fully is not about the what we have to live with, but rather about how we choose to live. Using the tool of shortwave radio, World Christian Broadcasting literally covers the world every day with the gospel. They use 2 large curtain antennas. One is located in Anchor Point, Alaska, and the other in Madagascar. They send out messages that are recorded at their international home in Franklin, Tennessee. They make available 40 hours of broadcast every day. The broadcasts are made in English, Chinese, Russian, Spanish, Portuguese, Korean, English for Africa, and Arabic. They would love for your group to visit them. You can bring your ladies group, your youth group, or your men's group. Just give them a call at 615-371-8707, 615-371-8707, or you can go to 3Ws and a dot, worldchristian.org, find the Donate Here button, and make a financial contribution to support this work that literally covers the world every day with the gospel. World Christian Broadcasting, in cooperation with Keeping Up with Jones, the Lonnie Jones podcast adventure.